Hello guys! We are going to talk about an action thriller film called Higher Power from 2018. A lot of interesting things are waiting for you. The head of a secret laboratory receives an encrypted message. An unknown person says that he knows about the scientist's project and its prospects. He also knows that the authorities have closed the project because it seemed too dangerous. However, the stranger is ready to implement the project because all of humanity is in grave danger. Meanwhile, astrophysicist Michael was interviewed on television, where he talked about his theory of the apocalypse. He is confident that humanity will be destroyed by a burst of gamma radiation that is currently rushing towards the planet. It arose after the death of a super-heavy star. In its place, a black hole is formed which sucks in matter, but it cannot absorb all the particles at once, so it emits energy beams to different parts of the universe. Our planet is now on the path of such a beam. Scientists from the laboratory and his new friend started searching for the object. They need a person with a matching DNA sequence, and who has an aggressive, destructive nature. So first they run a psychological profile scan. After selecting suitable candidates, they analyze their DNA. Only one of the many matches all the parameters. His name is Joe Steadman. Joe was once a model family man. He had a beautiful wife and 2 beautiful daughters, but then his wife died. Before she died, she had made a vow with Joe to take care of her daughters. However, he could not cope with this and fell into depression. Joe started drinking and became violent and aggressive. His eldest daughter, Zoe, was able to survive the tragedy and now lived a normal life. She even studied at a medical university. But his younger daughter, Rhea, had a much worse experience. From time to time, Joe would watch old footage of his wife, Heather, still pregnant. That day, they were walking on the beach, and Zoe gave him a special pebble, and Joe told her that the lighthouse sparkles with such frequency for a reason. A declaration of love was encoded in its flicker. In his spare time, Joe attends Alcoholics Anonymous and goes to work. Recently, he was invited to work as a security guard at a scientific institution. Zoe has never been able to forgive her father for their mother's death. She blamed him for Heather's illness. They had not spoken for a long time, and Zoe led a quiet life. She met with Michael and even read his book about a burst of gamma radiation that was supposed to destroy humanity. The two of them came to the library to get textbooks for Zoe, and then went home. Meanwhile, Joe came to an AA meeting once again and talked about his success. He hadn't drunk alcohol for a year, got a job, and was seeing a therapist to help him fight depression and control his anger. After the meeting, Joe prepared a gift for Zoe and waited for her on the street. She was on her way home with Michael. Joe invited her to dinner, but Zoe flatly refused, so he threw the gift into her bag. Michael noticed this and stood up for his girlfriend. He did not like the fact that Zoe's father was picking on her. Joe got angry and hit Michael, after which Zoe accused him of aggression. After this encounter, Zoe called her sister to find out how she was doing, but Rhea started drinking alcohol again and did not answer the phone. That same evening, Joe realized that he would not get his daughters back, so he started taking pills and washing them down with alcohol. However, his plan failed. A bag was put over his head, and when Joe lost consciousness, he was taken to a laboratory and underwent surgery. A special device was attached to his optic nerve, which allows to influence Joe's brain. After that, he was left on the street. The head of the laboratory contacted Joe and explained that he was now in full control. Joe was presented with a suitcase with a gun, and the supervisor ordered him to kill a girl who entered the alley. Joe tried to refuse, but he was shown a video of 2 men following Rhea and pointing guns at her. If Joe didn't shoot, they would kill his daughter. He had to grab the gun and pull the trigger, but the weapon was not loaded, and the girl he was ordered to kill was a fake. She tased Joe. He woke up in the trunk of the car and received another task from the manager. He has to go to the house of Joe's boss and force him to open the safe. The manager's partner helps Joe get inside, and the scientist directs him to Margray's bedroom. Joe finds him and leads him to the safe. He has to open the safe on the 2nd floor. When Margray opens the vault, the manager asks him to take out a laptop and activate it. Then he orders Joe to put his finger to the scanner, and at that moment, a DNA chain pops up. It confirms that Joe is exactly who they need. After that, the manager downloads the information from the laptop, and Margray realizes who is behind the intrusion. When Joe is distracted, he is hit in the head and his gun is taken. The manager makes the old man come to the window and then kills him with a quadcopter. He demands that Joe take Margray's thumb. He sends him to work, where he changes partners. The supervisor tells Joe to put on a normalizing mask and then launches a special gas into the ventilation system that interacts with air particles and creates a controlled vacuum. Everyone in the building died a painful death. The manager ordered Joe to get to the secret facility in 3 minutes. If he fails to do so, the same gas will kill his daughter. On the way, Joe takes the keycard from one of the guards, and he suddenly comes to life. He shoots him, and Joe loses his hearing for a while, but he still finds the right object and activates it with Margray's finger. The scientists force Joe to enter the device, and they launch the device. After the transformation, Joe is changed. An unprecedented power awakens in him, and this power destroys the building he was in. From that moment on, the first phase of Joe preparation for what he will face begins. Zoe learns about the explosion of the building where her father worked. She looks very sad and regrets that she never forgave her father while he was alive. Zoe opens a gift that Joe slipped into her bag during their last meeting. It turns out that the box contains the special stone she gave him when she was little. However, Joe survived. The manager told him that now he has a special energy that wakes up in him when he is angry. Now he needs to test his new superpower. So the scientists send Joe to a guy named Nico. This is the guy who hurt Rhea a long time ago and still continues to hurt her. Joe's car is stolen, so he has to start a motorcycle in the backyard. He starts the motorcycle using his energy. Joe arrives at Nico's house. He takes the gun from the guard and goes inside. He finds a guy who looks like Nico and asks him his name. The guy realizes that he's been followed and blinds Joe with a flash and then runs away. When Joe goes looking for him, Nico wins and ties up the intruder. When he realizes it's Rhea's father, Nico plays him a recording of him having fun with his daughter. Joe starts to get angry and releases the energy that has been pent up inside him. But Nico is still alive. He runs away and Joe manages to catch up with him. He is asked for help by a girl trapped in a building. He carries her outside and then goes out to the road where Nico is rushing in his car. Joe shoots at him, but all the bullets pass by. Then the controller plants a memory of Rhea in his brain, and Joe releases the energy again and kills Nico. At the same time, the power flow destroys some of the neighboring buildings. The police arrive at the scene. Joe is arrested and taken to the police station. The police try to link him to the explosion at the research center where he worked, as well as to the attack on Nico. At the same time, Joe tries to warn them that he is dangerous and does not control his energy. At this point, the manager informs him about the bomb. Joe tells the cops about it, and they go to defuse the explosives. However, it's not that simple. After all, if the police find it, an explosion will occur and about 20,000 people will die. So Joe has to hurry and be the first to find the bomb. He awakens his powers again and escapes from the police station in a police car. This is reported on the news, and Zoe learns that her father somehow survived the explosion. Along the way, Joe finds himself in a stressful situation, and the energy is released with such intensity that he turns into a bolt of power and rushes across the city in a bright flash. The manager is watching him. He deliberately immerses him in such circumstances so that Joe can release his own rage and unleash his potential, which happened to him after the transformation. Upon arriving at the site, Joe lifts a container of explosives into the air and it detonates in midair. The shrapnel damages the plane and it starts to fall, demolishing part of the railroad on which the train with passengers is traveling. Joe turns into a superhuman. He picks up the plane and puts it on the roof of a building. At the same time, he creates a force barrier to cover the gap and save the passengers of the train. After that, he is contacted by the scientists' people, who inform him that they have kidnapped Zoe and Michael. Joe instantly determines where they are and moves there. He deals with the villains and then is going to take his daughter home. But at that moment, Michael kills her. He was the one who sent that coded message to the manager, knowing that humanity will soon come to an end. Michael decided to save it by creating a godlike creature out of a human. Only this creature can stop the flow of gamma radiation that is already approaching the Earth. Then Joe sees Rhea being killed. He finally loses control of himself. Joe releases a huge force that envelops the entire planet. He turns into a deity. Now he can hear and see everything that happens on the planet. He becomes immortal and invulnerable. When the manager addresses him, Joe turns him into atoms. He stops the flow of gamma radiation and revives his daughters. The girls meet on the beach. They are happy to be alive. At the same time, the sky shimmers in a strange way, and Zoe guesses that it is her father telling them that he loves them.